Qantas has come under fire after a security breach saw more than 200 passengers escorted off a plane in Melbourne by federal police. The reason? At least one person on the flight from Sydney bypassed security screening before boarding. Qantas has apologised and says it's investigating. Well, Patrick Durkin from the Australian Financial Review was on board that flight and he joins us now. Patrick, at what point were you all told exactly what was going on?
I think we smelt a bit of a rat just before the descent of the aircraft when the pilot came on and said, look, attention everyone, when we land, please do not leave your seat, even when the seatbelt sign goes off. We've got a bit of an issue, security issue at Melbourne Airport, so please remain seated and wait, which was a bit of a challenge for some people. It wasn't really until we landed and we got a little bit more information, that's when the pilot announced that we had been deemed an unscreened flight, which was news to all of us, and that we would be escorted by Australian Federal Police, Victoria Police and airport security from the airport gate back to be re-screened before we were able to go home.
So as you're sitting there, what goes through your mind when you find out that you could potentially be sitting next to a traveller who wasn't screened?
I think initially probably just confusion and a bit of frustration about, my God, how long will it take to get home? It wasn't until we stepped out of the gate and we saw AFP with some pretty heavy armoury that I think it dawned on a few of us and maybe a slight bit of alarm and concern about what this was all about. Then we got our marching orders, so to speak. We weren't to use the toilet, we weren't to remove anything from our persons or drop anything in the bins. And at that point, we were taken through the final screening process.
How did they figure out this had happened?
There's a report that there was a passenger who flew on a regional Qantas flight from Orange, and he connected into Sydney Airport. He was on radio this morning. He didn't give his full name, but claimed that he had alerted Qantas staff about the issue.
Right. So we should hope that in future terrorists will self-report, I suppose, if a situation like this were to arise. Do we know how they managed not to be screened?
I understand that at some of the regional airports, it's quite common not to have a screening process. They don't all have them. But typically, if they're on a connecting flight, they are required to go through a security screening process.
Patrick, was it particularly unlucky, though, for Qantas that there was a journo on board?
I think they were silently kicking themselves. I called the head of Qantas media when I got home late in the night, and I said, oh, look, I've done a post on Twitter. It's gone a little bit viral. And he said, oh, Durkin, what have you done? So internally, they were sort of cursing themselves. And I suppose my natural reaction was to take some photos, gather a little bit of information, basic information about the flight, because the sort of the news hound instinct kicked in, I suppose.
Well, what you've done, Patrick, is hopefully closed a loophole, or at least led us down the path where those loopholes are going to be closed. Thanks so much for your time this evening, Patrick.
Terrific. Great to join you.